Hi, I'm Yael Ben David, and I want to talk to you today about getting out of your own way so that you can take the stage. Time for you to speak up. Let me tell you just 1 minute some background on me and why I'm here today. I started by doing a first degree in journalism at New York University, and then I moved from New York to Israel in 2007. So I'm going to talk to you today about a concept called imposter syndrome, when you feel like you don't belong. And boy, did I not belong. I came to Israel, I didn't speak any Hebrew, I didn't have any friends or family, I didn't even have really anything in the way of money, and I showed up completely foreign. Immediately, anywhere I found myself, I did not belong, I was an imposter. And then, as if that wasn't bad enough, after a journalism degree, I went to Hebrew University for a master's and a PhD in neurobiology. I certainly had no experience in any related field, and every class I sat in, and everyone else who sat there with me knew more than me about whatever was going on. I was a complete imposter. In the end of the day, I decided to combine these two sets of experiences and skill sets to become a UX writer for complex products. And today I write for Fundbox, which is a financial tech, a fintech product here in Tel Aviv. It actually extends credit to small businesses in the US. So there are a lot of very complex concepts to explain. I have no history, no experience in the financial industry. I had to learn everything from the beginning, and so also there I was an imposter from the beginning. But the main reason I'm here in front of you today is because I do not suffer from imposter syndrome. So this is me in September 2017, literally my first day on the job as a UX writer, and I had never heard the word UX in my life before. Fast forward to today, it's been less than 4 years, and I've spoken at more than 7 conferences, 4 meetups, 3 universities as of yesterday, and on and on and on. Here you see in October 2018 was my first time speaking to any kind of an audience. It was within the company I was working at the time. And already by January 2020, this was my first time speaking to what I could call a proper audience. More than 150 UX and UX adjacent professionals who could really call me out if I said things that made no sense, live, again here in Tel Aviv. And how do you get from what happened in September 2017, never heard of the name of my own field, to less than 4 years later, all of these engagements? And the answer is by not having imposter syndrome. It's okay to have an imposter moment, right? Valerie Young was quoted in Time magazine for saying that you can have an imposter moment, but not an imposter life. And that's really what I want to talk about today. Not moving imposter syndrome aside. It's here to stay. It's not going anywhere, but that's okay. Having a moment is okay. Right before I get on the stage, right before we turned on the camera, feeling like this might be beyond me, that's okay, as long as I do it anyway and I don't live my life as an imposter and let that hold me back from doing things I really am capable of doing. So the first step in sort of powering through and overcoming and even leveraging imposter syndrome to do what we do better is to name it. So Google tells you that the definition of imposter syndrome is doubting your abilities and feeling like a fraud. It'll cause you to question whether you are deserving of accolades, right? So when someone claps, I don't really deserve it. They're just being nice. Okay, so that's the feeling I think a lot of people are probably nodding their heads. You can resonate with, that resonates with you. That's what we're really discussing today. It's self-talk that you don't belong. You're telling yourself that you don't belong. And it's self-talk that you don't offer value, that you might as well not participate, don't get on that stage, don't take that job, because you don't actually have anything to contribute. You don't deserve to be there. That's a bunch of malarkey. And especially because I'm speaking in a forum of women, I want to remind everyone what imposter syndrome is not. It is not humility. It is not modesty. It is not, I think we're taught from a young age, not to be braggarts, not to look arrogant. And there's a difference between being a humble, modest person, which of course is something indeed to be complimented, and feeling like an imposter. And I really want to drive home that imposter syndrome, if we're already defining it, is a thing that is not fair. women suffer more than men, and I don't mean that men don't feel imposter syndrome. Research has shown that 70% of all people feel imposter syndrome. The difference is that men feel, oh no, I'm a fraud, oh well, and just continue on doing whatever it is they do. Women get in their own way by saying, oh no, I'm a fraud, and taking it to the next level and saying, and someone's going to find out. I better not put myself out there because I'll get discovered. And it's also very connected to the glass ceiling, to the difference in pay. We receive less money because we don't ask for the same money. We tell ourselves, well, I don't really deserve it. Maybe if I get paid a little less, it's okay if I'm not as good. Minorities suffer disproportionately. If you think about it, that ability to say, I'm not really good enough, but who cares? That is the definition of privilege. And a lot of very talented people don't have that. And imposter syndrome prevents the community from benefiting from your contribution. It's not just about you. If you let it get in the way of speaking and sharing and teaching and mentoring, then those people, your potential mentees, and all of the rest of the community, they suffer from your imposter syndrome because they don't get to hear what you have to share. So if we're going to sum that up in a slide, imposter syndrome is a lie, self-talk that's just not true. It's stunting your growth, and it's stunting everyone else's growth around you. That is no good. So let's first talk about, since this starts in your head, right? Imposter syndrome is something you're telling yourself. So how can we flip that narrative in our head? So I'm going to give you a countdown here. 5 techniques that I think will help you fight a concept in your head with your own mind. We're going to go from maybe something a little less novel to things that I feel are more unique, more valuable. We'll work our way up. So number 5, fake it till you make it. I'm sure you've heard this before, and here's why it should work. First of all, everyone else is doing it too, right? If you're faking it, they're faking it, everyone thinks everyone else is faking it, and if you're all doing the same thing, well then that's no longer faking it, right? That's just doing the thing. And if you're doing it while faking it, you're still doing it. So that first day on the job when I had never heard of UX writing, I was still UX writing. I was like faking that I know how to do UX writing by doing UX writing, okay? So faking it counts. Number 4, external validation. So it isn't my favorite, but it is useful. So I want to share it with you today. The idea of looking around and seeing that outside of you, there is proof that you do belong. So first of all, you're here, right? So if I thought I shouldn't get this job, well, the HR manager thought you should get this job. They hired you, right? So the fact that you're on this stage is validation from the conference producers that you belong here. And the fact that you have this job is validation from the hiring manager and the hiring department that you belong here. So don't be arrogant. Don't say, I know better than them that I don't belong here. It's their job to decide whether you belong here. It's very backwards, right, to say, I'm not good enough. I know more than they do, that I'm not good enough, right? Trust them. Number 3, imposter syndrome is not you. Now, this is kind of a heavy concept. It's going to take a minute to wrap our minds around, but it draws on the school of mindfulness, where something is much easier to fight or power through or leverage if it's external to you. So imagine in your head, you're here and your imposter syndrome is there. It is not who you are. It does not define you. It is outside of you, and it's up to you to make it a moment and not a life. It's something you want to hold with you right now because that anxiety gives you, I don't know, adrenaline on the stage, great. But it's not who you are, and it's not how you live your life. And number 2, imposter syndrome is a given. Now, I love this one, okay, because don't assume, okay, 70% of people have imposter syndrome. Assume you have imposter syndrome, right? Assume you're in the majority. And assume it's very difficult to get rid of. You don't need to get rid of it, okay? Just take it as a given. Assume you're going to fail, right? The imposter in you is saying, I'm going to fail. And because you're afraid to fail, you have anxiety. Uncertainty gives you anxiety. So take out the uncertainty. I not might fail, I will fail. I am going to fail, and now I can prepare for it. And when you take out the uncertainty, then you take out the anxiety, and the whole experience is not as scary. I want to give you a very cogent example from my own life. Again, this is the first time I've spoken to a really big professional live audience. And there was a bit of a miscommunication, there was a bit of a technical glitch, and the slides behind me were not the most updated version. And all of a sudden, I turned around to point to something on the screen that wasn't there. So first I panicked in my head and took a deep breath and made something up. And when this was all over, I had that external validation. A lot of people came up to compliment me afterwards and all of that, and I felt terrible. And I spoke to my mentor and boss at Fundbox and told him that I had failed. And he said, you not only didn't fail, you didn't even get an A, you got an A+. And why is that? Because if it had gone off without a hitch, if it had been perfect, that's an A. Lots of experienced speakers can get an A. The audience thinks you got an A, but the organizers who invited you know that you succeeded in the face of adversity. That failure was an opportunity for a plus. That had everything gone perfectly, you wouldn't even have had the opportunity to reach that level. So failure is where the extra credit is. The people who mattered and who would invite me back knew that I went above and beyond only because there was a glitch. And number one, imposter syndrome means you have arrived. It's a good thing. It's a badge of honor. It's an award. You don't get imposter syndrome buying milk. Anyone can buy milk. That's not a big deal. But if you're afraid to get on a stage, by golly, you're getting on a stage. I mean, you really need to stop and think that if you're concerned about that job you're about to take, you got that job. If you're concerned about the speech you're about to give, you've been invited to give that speech. So instead of seeing it as a bad thing, see it as a check. I'm there. I've made it. And that's winning. Love me a GIF. All right, so we talked about 6 ways that we can use our minds to control this sort of imposter syndrome, which is a paradigm, a mental paradigm, right? How we're going to use mental models to overcome our self-talk. Now I want to give you action items. Actual action items. I want you to do these things. Everyone, do these things as soon as this talk is over. Number 6, right? We thought about 5, but now we're going to do 6. We're real go-getters. First of all, own it. Use your words to own where you're at. It's okay to say, I'm new here. It's my first time. What would you do? If you're new as a junior in a junior role, you're not a fake senior. You're an authentic junior. Own it. It's okay. But what you're not going to do is apologize for being a junior. You're not going to regret who you are, right? So no sorry, no just. And what I mean with action item is right now, go to your emails. Well, not right now, when I'm finished talking. Go to your emails, go to your sent mail, especially the women, and see how many times you apologized for something that you didn't need to apologize for. How many times you added the caveat of, I just wanted to know. What's wrong with I wanted to know? What is wrong with that? Okay? And a specific tip is when you're thinking of writing, sorry this took so long, replace it with thank you for your patience. The recipient feels good and you look stronger. Number 5, use second person. So this is actually really interesting research that was presented by Adam Grant in a podcast I love called Work Life. Talk to yourself in the second person. I don't know why this works, but it does. So what the hell, use it. It means that before I got up here in front of you today, I didn't say, I can do this, I got this, I've done this before, I'm gonna be okay. No, I said to myself, Yael, you got this, you can do this, you've done this before. Again, I'm not sure why it works, but the research shows that it's better to talk to yourself in the second person, that it's that much more effective. So start doing that today. Number 4, get a community, get mentorship. And you're the last audience I need to tell that to. If you're here today, then you are blessed to already be part of a community, most likely. And this is important to differentiate from external validation. This isn't in order to find other people to tell you that you're worth it, but rather it's about hearing about how others who have lived your experience, to be less isolated, to hear, you know what, they went through it and they succeeded. How did they do it? When did they do it? And just to look around and see, kind of together with we're all faking it, we've all been there, but we've succeeded, they've succeeded despite it. So there's a lot to, it's very comforting, and you can learn a lot just from being a part of a place where everyone is experiencing that same imposter syndrome and powering through it. Number 3, and I mean it, apply for something. Right now, today, before you go to bed tonight, apply for something, anything. Google your field and apply for it. There's a conference in my field. It's actually the premier UX writing conference in the world called Button. And when I saw the first year, 2020, the keynote speakers they were putting up there, I said, oh my God, it's all the thought leaders on my Twitter feed. I could never share a stage with them. And then I found out that they so care about the integrity of the content and specifically want to give voices to newcomers and new perspectives and fresh eyes that the first screen of their proposals is blind. There are no identifying details on that very first proposal that you submit. And that made it less intimidating. And not only was I accepted to speak at Button 2020, in October, I'll also be speaking at Button 2021. Number 2, pitch something. If there isn't a thing to apply for, create one. So there's a conference, one of the 2 big UX conferences in Israel is called UX Salon. And I didn't pitch me. I pitched UX writing. I spoke to the organizer and I said, your conference is missing something. Let me pitch you an idea. And not only did he then ask me to come speak about it, he created a sister conference called UX Salon Words, and I spoke there. So you can apply to things that don't exist by pitching them. It all starts by starting the conversation. Network without a specific goal. I didn't speak to him with this goal of getting a gig. I spoke to him to speak to him, to start the conversation, to let him know that he has a gap in his value offering, obviously, in a friendly and in a respectful way, and look where it led. And remember, side note about networking, if we've already brought it up, successful networking is about giving. So you don't go to, the line in the buffet at a conference and pick up a conversation with the person next to you hoping they'll offer you a job. Ask questions until you understand how you can help them. Even if it's telling them the best sandwich shop in town because you're from here, give what you can, and those are the relationships that will pay you back tenfold in the future. And number 1, and please do this today. If there's nothing else you take from this talk, today, get visible. Don't wait until you feel established. Don't say, but I haven't done anything yet, so I have nothing to publish. I have nothing for people to see. It's not true. This is an image of me giving a tiny talk only within Fundbox, only Fundbox employees. It's in the cafeteria, for goodness sake. And I put this photo all over all of my social media accounts. I wanted to be seen way before I was established, and everyone has got something they can show. Anything, put it out there, and it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. It becomes a positive feedback circle. First you're visible, then you'll get offered those opportunities to lead you to feeling more established, and it'll go round and round. It has to start somewhere. Thank you so much for inviting me here to speak with you today. I hope it's been valuable. These are the different places you can reach out to me if I can answer any questions in the future. Good luck.